Uh, okay, now his session is being recorded. So, Assalamu alaikum again. Those of you have joined me from Scratch class, so welcome again, and thank you for joining again the session. Hope you enjoyed the Scratch session. And this one will be more interesting, a little bit more challenging than Scratch, because Python is a little bit, not a little bit, a lot more serious than Scratch. It's more widely used, uh, uh, like for serious work rather than just learning. So I'm very excited because believe me, even I have been working since so long, and yesterday I was researching something, and it needed Python to for implementing it. So what I'm going to teach you in next couple of weeks is something that a lot of people are using nowadays, even for a lot of serious work. So let's start. First thing first, let me share my screen, right? Please let me know when you see my screen.
I can see it.
Okay. Okay, so today we'll be starting our Python session. And like I did with Scratch, I will not just right away start Python, okay? Because Python is just a language. What it is, we'll see in a bit. Before that, a little bit about me, who people who have known me already. It's a little bit of repetition, but for those who don't know me, my name is Farhan Raza. I'm a technical consultant and architect. I have over 19 years of IT experience now. I did my BS in computer engineering from Sir Syed University of Engineering Technology in Karachi, Pakistan. Now I've been living in Cincinnati, Ohio, in USA. So that's where I am right now. It's morning time here. So the course objective that we will be doing in next couple of weeks is learn basic principles of programming. Learn to code in Python. Learn about Python pre-built capabilities. Apply those Python capabilities for developing games. And why I choose games? Again, in my opinion, games are fun to work with. You could apply them to anywhere else. But when we are working with games, it's fun. It's learning with fun. You see something happening. Like you can apply these things to any other stuff too. But a lot of things are not may not be as fun to watch per se as games would. You see the results in front of you, colorful images, sounds, and stories. So I think uh, game will make it more fun to learn. That's why I chose game for the application of Python that we will be learning. So make it more fun. Just we did for Scratch course who attended, and those who will know that how fun it will become that you when you are applying what you have learned. And finally, when we are done with our learning, we'll do our project that you guys will be doing on your own. Of course, I'll be here to guide you, but that will be the fun part. Any questions here? Okay, so for today's session, I will start with a little bit of programming history, what programming is. I know we are here to learn Python, but Python is a programming language. So what is programming language? Can anyone tell? Does anyone knows what a programming language is? Anyone? Please, I'm here. Anything? Misha, I'm gonna pick on you. Do you know what a programming language is?
I don't
Anything.
know.
Just say whatever you think about programming.
It's like it's what you use for coding. I forgot how to explain it.
So, okay, say in your own words.
Um,
Okay, let me make it a little more simpler. What is a language?
Something you use to speak or communicate.
Something you use to communicate. That's the right word. To communicate. Okay. So then what's a programming language is?
Uh, the
Some something you use to communicate, but with who?
computer.
Yes. So computer programming languages are something that you use to communicate with what? Computers or machine. Computers or machine. Well, so so Python is what? A computer programming language. So that means it's one of the ways, one of the languages to talk to computer, right? So that's what Python is. Just like English is a way of communicating between humans. Urdu is another language that people use in Pakistan. Uh, Same way, there are other languages in other countries. And sometimes people use languages that have words of, like we used to call in Pakistan, Minglish, which has words of English and Urdu mixed. So there are languages to communicate. Same way, computers have different languages to communicate. So let's see how this all computer programming languages started. Like I said, computer programming language is just a way of communicating. The first ever in time when they wanted to communicate with computers was when they wanted to, you know, give when they back in the 1900s when they made a big machine which was called electronic numeric integrator and calculator. You see in the image here, the big machine was fit in the whole room, and they wanted to do a lot of things and they wanted to tell a lot of things to this whole big machine. They wanted to talk to this machine and they don't know how to. And so the way they wanted to communicate with this machine was there was a lot of switches and they wanted to turn some switch on, some switch off. So by combination of some switches on and some switches off, they were communicating with that computer, just like that. And they called it machine language because that's what that language, that machine used to understand. That was the only language it could understand. So they started calling it machine language. And when they had to write it on a paper, they started calling it, okay, let's call the on as one and the off as zero. So just to make it more simpler. And that eventually started being called machine language. But the problem with machine language is that machine understands, human doesn't. Am I right here? Like if something is written as 0 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 0 1, I don't understand. Machine does. This is how it looks like if someone spit out or someone says 0 1 0 1 0 1 to you, how it will look like to you. You see?
Just
This
numbers.
Yeah, that's what my face look like or your face will look like if you are reading machine language. Just imagine you are reading a story written in machine language. That's how your face will be. See? So much so it's very difficult to remember. And then again, these are basically codes. If you see, you have codes to open a door, you have codes to open any lock, for example. So these were actually codes, and they were all combination of 0 1 1 0 0 1 0 1. So it was very hard to remember all these codes. First of all, you don't understand what you're writing. Then you have to remember the specific combination of what, like if you write 100 or 011, these are two different codes. So it's required high skilled professional who can write machine code. Very difficult if something goes wrong. Just like I said, you are tired and you instead of writing 100, you write 110, and your program is not working now because it's a different code and it's very hard to remember. So it was very difficult to remember, to program, and to maintain. Like something goes wrong, you cannot do anything. I mean, it was hard. You can do something, but it was very hard. And then it was all the code, for example, just like I gave you example of locks and door, each lock would have a different code. Each uh, door will have a different lock and different code. Same way, every computer, every machine would have different codes. So like if Misha has one computer, uh, Kulsum has a different computer, they have uh, different codes. So it was hard to remember. Like if you want to be a programmer, right? So you will have to learn one programming language for one person and then other language for other. So it was very hard to remember. So the engineers come up with some say, hey, this won't work. Machine language won't work. Let's start making some easier stuff. So they came up with some more English looking like code words that would somewhat translate into machine language, and they would somewhat understand in English, and they call it, let's call it assembly language. So it somewhat provided engineers that what they're typing. If you look on the screenshot here, it's there are some words, like I said, it's kind of Minglish. Some words are in machine code, the others are in English. So it's machine language and English, so it's Minglish. So, but still, the problem is that, it's not everyone understand English. You have to understand both machine language and English to be able to understand this. And now there's another problem that you have to develop something that converts that English into machine language so that computer can understand, right? Because now you are writing something which computer doesn't understand. You're trying to make it easier for humans to understand. So this was also not very helpful. It was better than machine language, but it was not very helpful as they wanted to be. And it has the same problem as it was uh, with the machine language, that it was what we call it in computer world, hardware dependent. Like every computer had its own machine language, every computer had its own language or code. So the engineers and scientists kept on working, will not work. We have to come up with something else. What we can do to make it more easier. So then they developed computer languages that would be easier to learn and understand. The languages became more popular for this reason. However, now the more and more their language become more easier to learn and understand by humans, it became more difficult to understand by computers, right? Making sense? Because they're now becoming more readable to humans. They're going more away from what computer would understand. Making sense? So now they have to write more and more complex translating mechanism that would translate English style languages into machine language. But that could be done because, that's a one-time effort in a way. So they said, okay, this can work because we can write interpretation type of programs or compiling that. I can explain that what that means, but we can write something like that one time, but then for the most of the people, they can write something in English then, right? Or something similar to English. So they solve at least one problem somewhat that now people can type programming language somewhat in English words rather than those machine codes. And you can see a lot of different names here: Ruby, Java, Delphi, Pascal, C++. And here is our Python that we want to learn. All these languages are they look like you can type in English, but something happens in the background that converts that English into zeros and ones. And we don't know what happens, but something that's called interpretation or compiling that happens that we don't need to worry about. That engineers and scientists did it for us. For us, two challenges still remain. That even after this, the programming languages were hardware dependent, like you still have to program for a specific computer. And now every code needs to convert to machine language now. Then the due to conversion, uh, every command or everything becomes slower. So if I show you how it looks like, this is computer hardware where you need to tell instructions. Or if you recall the first picture I showed you, the big room picture, that's computer hardware. You have to communicate to that hardware, which is machine language, zeros and ones, which is very hard. So they come up with language that's called assembly language, which is somewhat readable. But then scientists said no, it won't work, so they developed a language section that's called more readable or high level. And why it's high level and why it's low level? Because a language which is more closer to hardware or which is more closer to or which requires less translation for machine to understand is low language, and which the language that requires higher translation for a computer to understand is called high language or high level language, not high level. Any questions here? So, and you can send me questions afterwards. And don't worry, this might seem a little boring here, but it will get a little more interesting very sooner. Any questions? Okay. Now, the last problem, which was, every programming language for every computer. You all use internet, right?
Yeah.
Right? Everyone uses the internet, mobile phone. Did anyone think about how is it possible that you have to program for each computer separately? Now, what will happen if you are running something on internet? You have one computer. Someone is using an Apple, right? A computer, Apple iPad is one computer. Someone is using Microsoft or Intel laptop or computer, right? They are two different computers. So, do I need to program for every computer separately? The answer to this problem until here is yes. But then if if we go onto internet, there are millions and billions of people around the world using it. Will it become possible to write for every computer?
No.
It's completely like become very impossible to write, like or very difficult to write for every computer out there, every computer hardware out there. So the scientist, when I say they means I mean scientists, computer scientists, engineers, come up with another technique and they called it platform independent. That means they come up with a technique that, hey, you write in one language and it will run on every computer, no matter if it's Apple iPad, no matter it's Intel, no matter it's whichever computer. So they came up with that technique, which I will not go in detail for this session. I know it's very beginning session, how it is done, but just to know that it's called hardware independent. Okay, that is called. And Python is one of such language which is hardware independent. So you type Python code like I am using Intel based computer, right? Misha is using Apple based computer. Both will be using Python to run the code and both computer will work. How is that possible? Because Python is using something called platform or hardware independent. They don't care if it's running on iPad or Intel based or Windows. It just cares that it needs to execute. And how that happens, that we'll save for some advanced class. But that is what I wanted to tell you how we got to Python from the beginning till now. Any questions so far?
No.
Just a fun way of looking at evolution of programming languages. Okay, so let's move to our main topic of today, which is Python. So Python, like I said in my previous slide, that Python is a high-level language. It is a general purpose programming language, means it can be used for many things. You can use it for making games. You can use it for, you must have heard this word data science. And you must have heard a lot. I'm sure you must have heard a lot the word chat GPT, right? So you can use it for AI and if you want to build some app that can connect to ChatGPT, you can use it there. And you can, and these are the terms that I can explain. I know this is a little bit high level I mean high level, I mean a little bit advanced at your stage, but I can explain to you. Don't worry about it if you don't understand right now, but just ignore for now if something doesn't make sense. And same way here, that if it's object oriented or procedural, all these are programming the ways how you program. The main thing you want to understand at this stage, that what is computer programming language, what are the high level and low level programming language, right? What is Python? Okay. And now we get to our task for today. The first thing first, if we don't have Python installed, we need to install it. So open your browser and this can be, you can you can open your browser with me. That will be easier this way. You can log on to, I think it's called python.org. So when you are on python.org, go to downloads, or if you come up here, the latest Python is 3.12.6. Click on here. I actually already downloaded it. Download and click here, download for Windows. See, I have Windows, so I am downloading it for Windows. Once it's downloaded, all you have to do is just run this setup package here. Are you guys following it right now, or you want to do it later? Okay, so once Python is installed, which I have already done on my machine, the next step is where to run Python, and which is I need to run on a free code editor, which is available for free, obviously. It's called Visual Studio Code, and you can download this from this link, which is it is code.visualstudio.com. And here you can download this for if you are running for Windows and these are smart. They mostly detect which system you're logging in from. So for me, it's telling me you can download it from Windows, but if you want more options, you can click here. You can download for other operating systems as well, in case you're running other like Apple. I am running Windows, so I can click here and I can click download and it downloading it here. Okay, similar to Python setup. Once it's downloaded, all you have to do is just run this setup wizard, similar to other setup wizard. You have to just run it and follow the instruction as it's. So once it's installed, you just search the Windows and type Visual. As soon as you say Visual Studio Code, that's it how it appears. Okay, I was creating already, so let me close this one here. Can I? Okay, let's close. Okay, so once you install Visual Studio and you install Python, what you need to do is come up here, click here, which is called extensions, and you have to type in here Python, not Python, Python. And you need to install Python language support and debugger, and you need to install these. For me, it's already installed. So when it's not installed, you have instead of uninstall, you see you select it here. Instead of uninstall, you see install here. So you guys can either follow me right now, or if this video is being recorded, it will be uploaded. So you can follow this video as well later on how to do it. This code editor is completely free. You don't have to pay for it, so that's the best part. Otherwise, typically other code editors. And the good part is it's very good code editor. I mean, there are many out there, but I like this very much. And it is very popular too. A lot of people are using it. So even if you are uh, looking for some examples online, people are using this a lot. Okay, so I have these extensions installed. I have Visual Studio Code installed. So let's start Python journey. And it's a tradition in computer programming that the first program you ever write is called the Hello World. So let's follow our tradition. So we'll go in our new text file and see I have installed the extension, and when you say file, new text file, it says select a programming language. So I say select Python, and it selects Python for me. It's always good to save. So I will say already will, so I will say Python session 1 hello world. You can name it however you like. Just named it based on our session. And now you can see this is the code editor area of the Studio Code. This is where you type your code. And this area here will show you all the results of, and this area is called the terminal, where you see when you run your code, this area will display the output. And like I said, this is our tradition to write. Okay. And once you're done, this is a simple print command and open and close brackets inside uh, quotations. You type hello world. Once done, click on run Python file and you got your hello world here. So we did our tradition of hello world Python on September 15th, 2024. Those who followed me up till this point, congratulations for your Python journey just begun. Any questions so far? Anyone?
No, don't have any questions.
No questions? Any confusions?
At least not for me.
Okay, so can I ask questions though?
Sure.
Okay. So, do you have any issues with downloading Python or Visual Studio Code? Anyone?
No.
So you have installed already?
The Python wasn't letting me download, but I did the visual code.
Okay, Visual Studio Code is not working.
The Python isn't.
Python is in.
That app
And
isn't downloading.
anyone else having issues with installation or anything we covered so far?
Probably because I'm on my iPad.
Okay, we can take this offline. Maybe you can show me what's going on. Anyone else? Okay, so today we covered a little bit of recap. If I want to see, like we covered a little bit of history, like how computer programming languages started and how they evolved into low level to high level to hardware dependent to hardware independent, and then eventually the Python, and then we installed Python and we installed Visual Studio Code and we wrote installed Python extension within Visual Studio Code, and then we typed our first Hello World program here. So Python, some few facts about Python in today's session, and from next class next Sunday we'll be working more directly into writing code here. Um, for our next session, we'll be working on variables and more uh, working with actual programs and more basic concepts of programming inside Python. Those who have done Scratch programming with us, those who will see that same concept uh, inside Python will be similar, but they will have to type rather than drag and drop. So, few things about Python. Python uses, like I said earlier, that Python is a high-level language. That means it needs some sort of translation to convert this print command that I understand into a combination of this, which computer understand. I don't know what it is. I just type randomly, and which is incorrect because computer only understands 0 and 0. So, so Python uses a thing called interpreter. What it does is it converts every word by word into a machine code. So Python runs like this, like its interpreter work like it goes like this. P into whatever 0, R into whatever 1, 0, I, and this, and that's how it converts each and every character into a machine code. So this is called interpreter. So if you type another command, let's say I want to see what's the results of 2 plus 2. And here you notice that I did not put any quotation. What I mean when I enter quotation means I want it to just print whatever inside a quotation. When I'm not putting quotation, it means for Python, just calculate it or, work on it as a calculator, for example. Let me remove it, otherwise it will error out. So you see, here it prints hello world, but here instead of printing 2 plus 2, it printed 4. So if I do this, what should happen? Hello world and 2 plus 2 because of these quotations. So we'll see all this in detail. So what I was telling that interpreter does is like one by one, it just goes through and convert that into machine code, right? That's what interpreter is. Line by line inter conversion. And there's another thing which is called compiler, which Python doesn't use. What it does, it reads the whole thing and compiles into machine code. So Python uses this one. So it's important to know why, because when we'll be programming, sometimes you get the error, for example, like you are typing something and you get the error is here. So you get the error somewhere here. Hey, print is not, you know, defined. So you say, oh, this line one has some error. When you are using compiler, that's sometimes different. That because it's compiling, it's doing the whole thing. So that error definition sometimes is different in compiler. So we don't need to worry about compiler here. So it's very important to understand how interpreter works. Oh, 10 divided by 2. Okay. So we are almost about time for our class for today. And for our next class, we'll be diving into our Python programs, and we'll be starting with the first a session of variables, and we'll be talking about variables and conditions are in our next session. Until then, please make sure you have this Python installed, Visual Studio Code installed, and you can try writing this Hello World program the way I, type few of the print commands, see if you are able to run and see the results down here. If you are able to do all this by next class, that will be great. If you have any questions until then, please feel free to reach out. I'm here. Message me on WhatsApp on the group, and I'll be able to help you guys. Uh, please let me know if you have any other questions. And we can conclude our session for today until next class.